Everyone, welcome back to a new post today. Let's today speak about something which is already making news, and that's about the India-US trade deal. Though it has not been finalized, but it is going and yet to be finalized, and there's a positive note on its finalization as well. The details only have to be jotted down on papers. So what exactly is the hype around the India-US trade deal? First of all, you need to understand that USA is the largest top export destination for exports for India, followed by UAE, Netherlands, China, Singapore, UK. So US, UAE, Netherlands, China, Singapore form the top 5 destinations of India's exports. Now, when any of these countries impose extra tariff on us, or if they stop importing our goods, then the exports of India will be hurt, and similarly the industries related to the export. And that is what has been happening all this time when Trump had imposed tariffs on India for umpteen number of reasons. One, Iran, sometimes Russia, and even reciprocal tariffs as well, because of the trade deficit that USA faces. Now, this finalization of the India-US trade good is set to be a harbinger of good economic growth in India by the government of India. Let's see some of the details about it, and what is the effect on the macroeconomics, along with what are the concerns of the agriculturists and the farmers, that now they have decided to carry out a rally and protest and also burn effigies of President Donald Trump. So we export to US refined petroleum, telephones, packaged medicaments, diamonds, jewelry, garments, textiles, pharmaceuticals, telecom instruments, and organic chemicals. That means these will get more access, and also with lesser tariff once the India-US deal is finalized. We import from US crude oil, coal, gas turbine, soybean, corn, ethanol, machinery, gold and silver. However, in the trade deal, there are going to be much more items than we usually export or import, and therefore there's also going to be import of agriculture products and dairy at the rate of 0% tariff. Now, this has been a cause of concern. So first of all, the basics: what exactly is a free trade agreement? It's an agreement between two countries where they agreed to give priority to the exports of each other country and also reduce the tariffs or the taxes that are imposed on the imports of the good. Now, the agreement, which is going to be yet to be finalized, has already given an assurance that the tariffs would be brought down from 15% to 50% to 18%, and the effective tariff rate after the agreement is done would be low as 12%. This is what the government of India says. So what exactly has been the macroeconomic impact of this trade deal hype around, which was announced by Prime Minister Narendra Modi? Number one, foreign portfolio investment outflows will stop. This was already putting a pressure on the Indian currency, and therefore the Indian currency will bounce back. Apart from that, imports will come down on many goods that were being exported and were reeling under high import rate. Therefore, they were not being bought in US, and similarly the industries in India, employment were affected as well. Apart from that, because of this, the GDP growth is set to grow after the agreement comes into force, and in the following year the GDP growth is going to benefit because we export the most goods to the USA, and therefore the free trade agreement means lesser tariffs and much more purchasing of Indian good. The stress will come down on the rupee. So high tariffs meant that other destinations, particularly Southeast Asian countries, began to look for more attractive investment, and therefore they were pulling out the FTAs. This will definitely reduce the exerted pressure on the rupee as well. If capital flows recover in the year 2026 after the conclusion of the deal, the pressure on the rupee would definitely ease. This is what the forecasts say. Economic surveyor already pointed out that the stability of Indian rupee has become a casualty because of net trade surplus in services and remittances and goods trade deficit that India was seeing, and therefore we need to export more of goods to the destinations that we usually do, and also look for other destinations as well. This will definitely ease the pressure on Indian rupee. So this is what the economic survey has highlighted, that India runs a trade deficit in goods. Its net trade surpluses in services and remittances is not enough to offset the pressure on the Indian rupee, and therefore more export of goods is needed, and that is why free trade agreements are important. This is what the economic survey say. Now a big push will come to the electronics sector. This is because of the India-US trade deal. It will be a major catalyst for electronics, semiconductor technology ecosystem. It will improve market access, smoothing the capital equipment flow. Advanced technology will come from US to India. This will also be complemented by the programs like ISET and trust initiatives by the government of India, and also PLI scheme might get a boost as well. So this will make India a global manufacturing and innovation hub. This is what the government of India says. Also, the government of India says that the bilateral electronic trade would reach up to $100 billion as a part of the $500 billion trade target between the two countries. They would co-create and co-develop as well. And all these days the tension was with regard to electronics, because the US had said that it would impose more tariff on the electronics, and most of the majorly affected were the Apple iPhones. So the United States President had already warned that Apple iPhones coming from India would face higher tariffs, and Apple has already been setting up a manufacturing ecosystem in India. This will definitely help the electronic system, and this was what was said by the government of India. However, the Samyukt Kisan Morcha now has decided to call for a strike on February 12th with mass protest crops, which will, as I told you, because of the free trade agreement, agriculture, dairy will be opened. That means the US agriculture and dairy goods will flood the Indian markets, because India will also be imposing a zero tariff rate on them. That means they'll be cheaper, and for face and high competition for Indian goods, the crops to be immediately affected are soybean, maize, cotton, dairy. Livelihood of crores of small and medium farmers will be definitely affected. The Samyukt Kisan Morcha has called the declaration of the Prime Minister Narendra Modi as anti-farmer and anti-farmer protection. So the India already has major of its farmers as small and marginal farmers, and definitely they grow most of these crops. According to the agriculture census, we have 18.8 lakh farmers which hold medium and which are small and medium, and they will be definitely affected by these imports. Also, let me tell you that agriculture is still the largest employment provider, especially in the rural areas. So if these farmers are going to be affected, then what does the government have to provide for alternative employment? That's the bigger question. And also India is an agriculture, it's a food bowl of the world. So definitely affecting the farmers means food production, food security will also be hurt. And therefore the Samyukt Kisan Morcha has called out for a strike against the Narendra Modi government against this. So the major points that the Samyukt Kisan Morcha says is that the government has surrendered to imperialism, and it will destroy the Indian farmers with cheap US agriculture produce and dairy products hitting the Indian market. This will affect a lot of small and marginal farmers especially, and agriculture is the backbone of rural economy. Now these are the concerns provided by the farmers. The government of India says that the dairy and the agriculture farmers' interests have been protected, but none of the details of the free trade deal have come out. US has also said that it wants India to open up the agriculture and the dairy sector to allow much more of its exports to India, because the major complaint what US had was a trade deficit with India, and therefore to offset that it wants India to open up its economy. There are both strengths and weaknesses to the trade deal. However, weaknesses will definitely hit the weaker section of the society. Indian economy much more stronger, already reeling under the pressure of increase with privatization, monopoly organizations. Many small businesses have already been affected. Agriculture is the next sector that is going to be affected because of this free trade agreement deal. It's a wait and watch situation until the details of the deal are open into the open. So if you did if you did like these major points that I discussed with you, please do like, share and subscribe, and don't forget to comment at the end of the video. I shall see you in my next post. Until then, it's very happy learning.